And this is a really, as I spend a lot of time in conferences on talking about the subject, and almost never have such a fusion of movement, psychology. I thought Eva spoke about. I think all of the different talks have been really critical part of the mix. So in the worlds that I inhabit, it's all very technical. It's really problematic. It's technical. So thank you so much for kind of bringing everyone together on this. And I put some slides together, hearing everyone speaking that I just put on that I put in the chat that you might want to click on and have a look at. But I'll just share them very, very quickly as a kind of stimulus for what you might want to talk about now. Here we go. So my sense is that we're living through what you could call the third great democratic struggle. The first one is voting rights, the second one is civil rights, and the third one is the right to self-determination. And these things are clearly in different parts of the world going on at different times and continue to go on, et cetera, et cetera. But just as a kind of indication, I think in the UK and North America, it took about 80 to 90 years for universal suffrage to get implemented from the nascent campaigns, the implementation of the campaign, maybe even longer. So these things are long, these struggles. And my sense is we're maybe 30 years into a 60, 70-year struggle for this kind of self-determination, how we make democracy work right now. So that's kind of how I kind of zoom out and think about the moment that we're in. You may have seen this. This is on the Knocker website. This is their indication of things that are officially climate citizens' assemblies happening at the national or the local level across Europe. But of course, there's many, many, many more than that in terms of people's assemblies, other activities, et cetera, globally. So the point is we're living through this movement. It's happening right now. We are building our new political infrastructure. And I believe we need to create competition with our existing democratic structures to kind of improve the system that we have. This is the map taken from the Humanity Project. Go onto their website. I know many people here are involved in that. Great work in terms of building the new infrastructure that may or may not work. I know many people on this call will be familiar with the Bill Moyer movement map, but it's a really important way for how I think at the stage we're at. And I think that we are at stage, I think we're at stage 5 right now around the need for democratic systems change. There's clearly huge recognition of the need that we have a big problem with our democracy, but we do not have consensus around what the movement alternatives should be. Clearly, citizens' assemblies are emerging as an opportunity around the governance chamber piece. But there's all kinds of other elements in terms of the right to truth, people-powered politicians. That's a really brilliant movement that's starting in different parts of the UK at the moment. So I just think that's where, and I think that our task in this room is how can we get from point 5 to kind of like to point 7, point 8 or whatever on this map here. Just kind of quickly. So this is how. So I think there's been Drew and others spoke before about how there are different kinds of assemblies. Absolutely there are. But what we do need to do, I think, is we do need to have a way of understanding what works. So are we trying to build solidarity? Are we trying to counter fake news? Are we trying to generate kind of learning at scale or inclusion? What are we trying to build self-efficacy, mutual understanding, as Eva was talking about? These different methods do different things. And I think unless we get really quite clear-minded around understanding which achieve which goal, we're not going to understand what works. So I think it's critical that we innovate. It's critical that we do what things are going to work right in the communities that we are inhabiting. But we do need to think really clearly about which of these goals we want to achieve, because different methods do achieve different approaches. Yeah, and this is just, again, kind of building upon Eva's point. I wrote a blog earlier this year talking about a new theory of change for citizens' assemblies. Basically, I'm talking about political literacy. This is the Gaventa blog. It's not my work at all. This is entirely by John Gaventa. But getting a clear sense of what's the visible and invisible forms of kind of power. Most citizens' assemblies that are commissioned by government tend to only focus upon kind of visible and kind of invited spaces, whereas one of the community-led spaces, or like the Global Citizens Assembly, they were claimed spaces whereby we're seeking to actually bring in and own that power themselves. And in many ways, exactly what Eva was saying, trying to unshackle ourselves from some of these patriarchal top-down forms of power that we were all kind of victim to. So just getting really clear about that, I think, is super helpful. I won't go into this now, but I think that it's important for us to be thinking about these theories of change to ensure that our assemblies aren't providing legitimate. Just speaking honestly with you all, many of the assemblies I've run historically have actually ended up giving legitimacy to institutions which are incapable of listening. And I would say that, I regret some of those in hindsight, because basically those institutions were never capable of listening. And so we need to be really quite cognizant and real about whether we're providing legitimacy to existing systems or not. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about good and bad democracy. I think this is a really important thing to say. I wrote a blog for OECD that was published last week on this. I put it in the chat again, have a look. But this basically helps us think about, I think, how the circumstances create our beliefs, which then affect our actions. We can really see this as a way of being able to look at our democratic system as a cycle. So the quality of services, the quality of our media, the quality of our education will affect what we believe. These will affect the actions we take. And these can be positive, better media, better truth, stronger solidarity will create more generative beliefs, will create more ambitious actions, which can create a positive cycle, or it can be a negative cycle. We have to acknowledge that in the UK right now, we are in a bad democratic cycle, worsening public services, increase of fake news, fracturing, etc. And so we need to rethink be really clear-minded about this. So when we're building these new democratic systems, they're explicitly seeking to counter what I think has become a corrosive democratic culture. That's it.